Hey everybody, it's Julianne from Cary Quilting Company in Cary, North Carolina. Today is Friday, August 5th, and today we're going to do frequently asked questions. So today we are going to be answering a couple of questions that have been posted by people on our videos in the last few weeks. The first question I got is, what kind of iron do I need? That's kind of a loaded question. Some people are really specific about their irons. I am not very specific about my iron, but here are some things I just kind of wrote down that you'll want to keep in mind if you are shopping for a new iron for quilting. One of the most important things to me is weight, because I don't want to spend all my energy pushing my iron down into my fabric. So an iron that's heavier will automatically do some of that work for you. You don't want it to be so hard to pick up, but you also want it to give a little bit of do some of the work for you in the actual pressing. The next thing you want to be aware of is your sole plate. So the surface of the iron that does the heating, you want that to be either stainless steel or ceramic. And we do have iron cleaner here, as well as applique pressing sheets, because as soon as that sole plate gets gunked up with something like a fusible product, it's not going to slide over your fabric very well. So we do recommend applique pressing sheets and or iron cleaner to make sure your sole plate stays nice and clean. And of course, starting with a good quality sole plate is going to make that easier. Next up, I like irons that heat up quick, because when I want it, I want it. So if you look at something that has a fast heating element or variable heat, I always go as hot as it can possibly go, unless I'm working with something that's not cotton. I'll go all the way up to the linen setting, because I just want it hot. I want the job done. But if you're going to use your iron for multiple purposes, you may want one with the variable settings for wool and for synthetics, things like that. With cords, you want to make sure the cord is long enough to get from one end to the other end of your ironing board, because if you're ironing a backing, you don't want the cord to be your limiting factor. That's just very frustrating. I right now have a Panasonic cordless, which is really nice because you put it into a holster, which acts as the heating element. And then when you pick it up, there's no cord at all. So you can iron, anywhere you want. And my Panasonic also has two pointed edges on it. So I can go in on this side and push back on that side, and I've got points on both ends. And then dry versus steam. This is kind of a big sticking point with quilters. A lot of people say never, never, never use steam because it will distort the shape of your fabric. Sometimes it is warranted, although I prefer to use my iron dry all the time, because as soon as you get rust stains on your fabric, you will be regretting that you ever put water into an iron. And so that leads me to these few things over here. This is a great product because it hooks on to your ironing board, so you don't lose your bottle and your bottle doesn't tip over 100 times throughout your ironing session. I hook mine all the way on the top edge of my board just so it's out of the way. And then these are our very favorite misters. If you're using water, or if you're using Best Press, which is our preferred starch alternative, it's like a very lightweight starch, I always put it into one of these mister bottles. It has such a nice spray on it. It's not like a Windex bottle. It doesn't all come out at once. I brought this piece of paper out so that you guys could hopefully see how this mister works. It's just a very fine mist. I don't know if you can tell, I'm kind of over misting this, but it just does a really nice fine sheen. So if you need to use some water to flatten out creases, or especially that center crease on a bolt, or if you've pre-washed your fabric and you need to get some of those creases out, I like this better than a steam iron, because I can decide how much steam is going in, and I can also decide when I want it and when I don't. Like I said, we enjoy using Best Press around here. It really helps get those creases nice and solid. And I also really like a wool pressing sheet or wool pressing mat, which unfortunately we don't have any in the shop at this moment, but I will put a link online as soon as they're back in stock. If you put your email in that link, you will get a notice. So that's what, and here's one more thing that's also really handy for ironing. If you're ironing a seam and you want to isolate the other seams or piecing that's around, this is called a strip stick, and it's like a speed bump. I call it a speed bump all the time. You can just put your fabric on it, take that one seam that you want to iron, and then you iron right on top of the stick. So this helps to isolate seams. If you've got one going this way and one going that way and you have a hard time getting your iron in there, this thing is a very handy tool. So besides the iron, I think the whole ironing environment makes a big difference in how frustrating or rewarding ironing can be, because it's not something that everybody wants to do a ton of. And I will also say I've gone through 5 to 10 irons in my quilting lifetime. Irons really aren't made to be used as much as we quilters use them. So you kind of have to be willing to kind of invest again every few years. The second thing I wanted to talk about today was to wash or to pre-wash or not to pre-wash. That is a question we get asked a lot. And I think if you're a quilter who's ever had a fabric bleed on you, you are in the same camp as me. I'm a generally impatient person. Many people in my life can tell you. And I was not a pre-washer until I had a ridiculous accident where the entire backing of a quilt bled red onto the front of my quilt 24 hours before it was going into a competition. So when that happened, I became a diehard pre-washer. I pre-wash everything because sometimes pre-washing changes the size of your fabric by a little bit. And especially if you're buying something that is loosely woven, like a peppered cotton or a shot cotton, you will want to buy a couple extra inches if you're planning to pre-wash, because you may lose some of that as the fabric tightens its own weave in the washer. So I do recommend pre-washing. Like I said, I pre-wash everything. I kind of do several loads. Like I'll do a red load, and then I'll do a greens and blue load, and then I'll do a light load when I'm starting a new quilt, just to make sure everything is on the same playing field. That being said, we do have two products here, Synthropol and Retain. These are two different products used in two different environments or circumstances. Synthropol is used for hand-dyed fabrics. So if you know you're working with hand dyes, or if you're working with batiks, this is a handy thing to put into the wash that will help kind of stabilize the dyes. And then this is Retain. This is designed for commercially dyed fabrics. This also works for jeans, blue jeans. So if you like your blue jeans to stay dark, this is a good product to add into that wash. They both go into hot washes, I believe. Yes, they both go into hot washes. So it doesn't seem to make sense, but it will work for you. If you do have a dye emergency, I have the solution for you, and maybe I'll put that in our next FAQ Friday video. So hopefully you'll stay tuned for the next time we do frequently asked questions. I hope you have a great weekend, and we will see you back here from the shop on Monday. Bye.